Hey everyone, and welcome to our stream. It's been a while since we've done one of these. This week we've got Neon, he's been on plenty of times now, but we've got Banana Brains and King Abs joining us for the first time. So I figured we'll go around the room and introduce ourselves. We've got some questions here, pull up my thing. So yeah, we'll go around, say who you are and like what you do in the Gears community, and also what have you been playing recently. So, Banana, we'll start with you.
I'm not a content creator. I'm mostly just well known for being very active in the community, especially on Twitter and Discord. And as for what I've been playing lately, as for Gears, mostly Horde versus kind of lost my interest. In other games, I've been playing Far Cry 5, and that's pretty much the only game I've been playing lately.
When you're playing Horde, are you just doing
Vegas.
Are you just doing like the challenge things in Horde, or are you just doing, I guess, like Masters runs or something?
Yeah, just the daily daily games.
Yeah. Neon, will go down to you, I guess.
Yeah. Well, everybody kind of knows who I am by now. That's usually on here, so I'll keep it brief. PvE is mainly what I do for content creation wise and helping people get all those fun skins, heroic, and kind of tutorials. Taking a little step back recently, just kind of focusing on some PvP. I've been enjoying PvP, trying to get masters and like King of the Hill, almost there. And recently I've been playing probably a little bit of everything. If you tuned into my individual streams, I've been playing like Halo, I've been playing World of Warcraft for some reason, and looking to play MLB The Show 21 when it comes out in April. So Gears is still here, but you know, we're kind of near the end of the operations, so I'm kind of like just cruising until we get some more news.
Yeah. All right, Abs, what about you, man?
So I'm a content creator. I cover Gears of War news as a whole, whether it's Gears 5 or anything else. I do a lot of Gears of War discussions and feedback videos as well as lots of Gears of War lore and top 10s and things like that as well. In terms of what I've been playing, I'm always playing Gears of War, hopping in and out of Gears 5 and other previous Gears titles as well. But when I'm not playing Gears, I'm playing a lot of COD, and I tend to play FIFA as well. Cool. So yeah,
I guess people on this stream, most people know who I am. But so Gears, I haven't been playing Gears too much recently. When I am playing, I know I'll probably get a bunch of hate for this. I've been playing arcade a lot, and I really enjoy that. I just find it's a nice thing for like me and a couple of my friends to hop into, and it's a nice change of pace from the classic Gears. But then now that the Gridiron event is back as a special event, Gridiron was one of my favorite modes to play when that first came out, and I was disappointed to see it go. So I have been trying out the Gridiron stuff, and we'll talk about that here in a bit. But most of my time playing games right now, which hasn't been that much time, but most of my time's been on Hollow Knight. I just started playing that recently and really enjoying that. But enough of the introductions, let's go ahead and hop into today's topics. The first thing we wanted to talk about was some of the recent news. So I mentioned the Gridiron Changes and then also the ReUp Changes. We'll go ahead and start with Gridiron. Have any of you guys besides me actually played the Gridiron Changes at all?
I personally have not, but I have talked to a few people that have, so that I felt that was good enough for me.
Abs, Banana, have you guys?
For me, I've played Gridiron in the past. I've not played the new iteration, but I've not. I know the changes that have been made, and you know how it affects the gameplay itself. Yeah.
All right.
I'll ask you then, Chaps, since you're the one that's played it.
Yeah.
I'll kind of reverse engineer this for a moment. I have been told that it makes it feel a little bit more like, don't use this like word for word, but it kind of feels a little bit more kind of like an execution mode a little bit, where you have to really be, what's the word? Tactical with your moves when you're getting ready to capture the flag or defend the flag. Do you feel that's accurate?
I think they're trying to move in that direction. I don't think it's there yet. So they made the two changes. One is being able to contest the hill now, or the capture point. that works out really well. That's feedback that I think most people were giving the coalition is that needed to happen, and I think it worked out really well. It doesn't need it does mean that you need to be a little bit more deliberate and make sure you're safer at that area. But I still found that you can go into the end zone, toss a smoke, and you're pretty safe from getting shot unless someone runs in which case you can just shoot them. The other change was the delay on the flag, where the flag doesn't spawn for 15 seconds. And I like that idea, I just think that it needs to be a longer delay. Because you know where the flag is going to spawn. It follows a set rotation, and on the map before each round it shows you where the spawn is going to, or the flag is going to spawn. And it normally takes you 10 to 15 seconds to get to that location anyways. So really, you can run straight to where the flag's going to be, wait 2 or 3 seconds, and then it spawns and you can grab it. It does stop the quick grab strat. Like some of the, especially at a higher level, people were running in, grabbing it, back rolling, and just camping back on their side, and it gets rid of some of that. But it...
So you have to now set up...
What's that?
I'm saying you have to now set up a bit before the flag actually spawns in.
You have to set up a little
bit.
Just
running in there.
But so one of the things is they wanted people to be able to go out and get like power weapons and side weapons and stuff like that. There's not a large enough delay to let you go out and get secondary weapons and then get to the flag, and there's definitely not enough time to go out and contest power weapons against the opposing team and then set up for the flag at all.
So you would like to see a longer delay of the spawn flagging and probably make it a little bit more random where like you're not actually seeing the flag spawn potentially.
I don't know about the randomized thing. That was my first thought, is make it random so you don't know where it's going to be. But that it needs to follow some sort of rotation so that it's even on each side. So like one team doesn't get an advantage just because they got lucky flag spawns or something like that.
I understand that.
I think increasing the timer would work really well. I know some people would say increase it to like 2 minutes or something so that it's basically an execution match, and then it goes to Gridiron as like the thing after that. But that's almost like the Coalition needs to work on a new mode that's in Execution 2.0 rather than changing what Gridiron is.
It does sound like, though, you could potentially do some cool little variants with this, though, with Gridiron. Like the fact that if you take Execution and Gridiron, kind of throw them together, you might actually get something like that where you can come up with a kind of a subset mode of it, kind of a unique twist of Gridiron, which would be a nice little LTE event, I guess we'll call it, not the actual game mode itself.
Yeah. And I know one thing that was tested was basically making the flag delay as long as possible, and then so it's basically an execution match, but have it when the flag spawns is basically right when overtime starts. So it's execution, and then once the flag spawns, first one to touch the flag wins the round if the game is still going on at that time. That apparently didn't work out too well, but it's an interesting idea.
I mean, I wouldn't personally want that, but...
Yeah, me neither.
I mean, the way I look at the game modes, though, overall, and this kind of applies to Gridiron, is I feel like when these modes come out, when the Coalition releases them, they're usually pretty fun to play, but then, like, the flaws become noticed. And I think that's what's happened with the majority of the modes that the Coalition has put out, and it doesn't apply to just Gridiron, because when Gridiron came out, everybody loved it. Everybody was like, this is awesome. But then, as time has gone on, it's been almost a year since it came out, right?
Yeah.
I feel like it's kind of on the shelf again, and we're trying to revisit another mode to try to bring it to standards, I guess.
Yeah. I think for me, Gridiron, I still really enjoy Gridiron. Sorry for the we just lost Banana's camera. All right, there we go.
No, I just turned off the camera for a second.
Okay. I still really enjoy Gridiron, and I don't think that it's gotten old or the flaws haven't really stood out to me too much. But that's probably because of the level that I play it at. I know at the higher level, there are some flaws like that quick grab strategy. But I I don't play that way. My friends don't play that way, and in the lobbies I was in, we weren't seeing people play that way. But we're also not like playing at Diamond and Master level, so.
That is where I always have a hard time with when I'm playing a Gears game, especially in 5, is although you're climbing up these ranks with your GP, I still sometimes feel like there's a lot of players that are high up in ranks that still don't understand the true fundamentals. Maybe they're playing with friends and then they somehow get thrown into my lobby. I don't understand how people can make it up to Diamond 2, Diamond 3, but then it's like you're playing with them, you're like, what are you doing? Like, do you know how this mode actually plays? And I don't know if this is an issue that it's because of communications and then you like playing with random folks and then it makes the game not fun to me. So I don't know if maybe we should try to maybe one day see if the coalition will just enable is communications actually used in this game other than chat? Like, does anybody ever hear anybody on a microphone randomly when you're on a rank mode, for example?
I don't play ranked much,
Rarely.
or I'm in a party.
Okay.
So.
I just feel like any mode I play, if I have a random, I'm literally having to use text chat and like, hey, I'm going here. You know, like I feel like I'm playing Counter-Strike old days, like trying to text people like go to A, go to B. We're planning the bomb at A or B. I don't know if anybody ever played Counter-Strike, but that's what you used to do. Like I just wish like people would get back on the microphones, and I know that that's like living in the old days, but it makes the game a little bit harder to play. So then it's like, man, I hate this mode because then people can exploit you. But
yeah,
Can I just mention?
Yeah.
I can just mention Dark Chaos's point. He said, "Is Gridiron popular?" And the answer to that now is no. That's why they took it out of ranked, and that's why they tried to rework it alongside, Guardian and some of the game modes that they've been. Yeah, that's why they've been reworking these game modes. Even for Gears Esports, they're trying to make Gridiron forefront instead of escalation, but some of the changes just weren't working, so they scrapped it for escalation again. So they're trying to evolve it. They're trying to make it escalation, execution 2.0, really. The new execution. But
I want to actually answer two questions that I don't want to chat. I know that usually when we do this, sometimes we forget about chat, and I don't want to do that this time. I see Panda and Wallers, and I'm going to answer both of them. Panda asks, "Oh shit, chat's moving." Set a few spots for the fight,
right?
Yeah, and then the randomizer will pick one of the spots for you. I think. I would like that. However, it's got to be within a fair neutral position, which I think the coalition already does a good job of that. I think the key is just to, in my opinion, if I was to play this, I would just rather it be a random spawn with no indication of where it's going, and it just shows up with a big noise or something. That's just how I would personally like to see it, but I haven't played it, so take my words for just feedback of what I'm hearing. And then Waller says, I just got here. Why do you think adding randomness to the flag is needed? Well, if you know where the flag is, it's like Chaps said earlier, is that he is unable to go. What it seems that they're doing with this delay of the flag spawning is trying to allow you to go get power weapons to kind of set up and make it a big engagement fight for the flag, because that's the ultimate goal to win the round other than killing your enemies. So it seems like there's maybe a balancing issue there of like, what direction does the coalition want you to truly play? But it ultimately is up to you and your team of how you want to play. Do you want to go get the weapons, or do you want to go get the flag and see if you can get the flag and go score real quick? So maybe, I don't know, maybe you can elaborate more on that.
And I love how right now there's no indication of where the flag is except for like the map that shows up before each round. So a lot of people don't know where the flag is going to spawn. But I look at the map, I know where it's, and I just know the rotations on the maps. So like, I'll go to the flag and it will be uncontested when it spawns, because people don't know where it's going to be, which is kind of odd. I don't know how I feel about the randomness aspect. I feel that, one, if you're looking at it a round by round perspective, that Gears has that right hand advantage type thing, right? Some teams will have an inherent advantage if it's not if the flag isn't rotating between the different sides. And you'd also need to ensure that the first half and the second half sort of have those same spawn rotations. And then just looking at an individual round perspective, The randomness aspect makes it so that one team can basically just get lucky, and I'm not a huge fan of that. I don't want there to be, oh, there's this one guy on this side of the map and that flag happened to spawn there, so he got that flag. I
Also, with the randomness, it has to spawn in within like 2 or 3 locations anyway with the randomness, because it has to be symmetrical to each side. So there's only like two potential spots, or maybe 3, where it can actually spawn anyway. So it's not that random.
Yeah, and the other thing I like is when it's not random. Like right now, we have those 3 set locations. If you think about it from a competitive standpoint, which I definitely don't play the competitive level, but you have 3 different strats basically. It's, what are your initials? Oh, well, it's this weapon setting and the flag is in this spot. Actually, it's almost like 6 different initials based on what weapons are on the map and which spot it's in. You have these different initials going out there, rather than if it was random, you would almost see the same initials happening every time. So I think this adds more variety by having it not be random, which is kind of an interesting thought. The lack of randomness increases variety.
Yeah. Also, Dark Chaos asked, like, how about a bomb game type? Would that work? And I think that's something that has been kind of experimented with, but not directly, right? It was in Judgment a little bit with the flag mode. What was that, breakthrough or something?
Yep.
And quite honestly, maybe it wasn't popular or successful because it was maybe towards my opinion, at the end of Judgment's life cycle, where, you know, the game was kind of everybody already had their feeling about it, and like, yeah, whatever, push it to the side, kill it in the back type thing. Or maybe people enjoyed it, but I personally didn't really care for it. I think that maybe it would be a good idea to kind of revise it. We already have the flag back into 5. Maybe they could, if they have the ability to do so, but don't count on it. But
I'm hesitant.
I think it's too similar to Gridiron for them to add perks and stuff.
I think that what would have the flag with you on your team, where you're the attackers and they're the defenders. I think that's kind of what the bomb mode is, that Dark Chaos is trying to represent. And instead of it being the flag cap, it's more of a detonation, kind of like a search and destroy type thing. Maybe
that.
I know a lot of people like that attack and defend style mode. I personally try to stay away from that because I feel that is somewhat unbalanced in the fact that, yeah, you switch sides, so one team's attacking, then the other side's attacking, so it's balanced in that perspective. But if you think about, the fact of, okay, you're attacking first, if you planted or you didn't plant, or detonate or didn't detonate, the other team now has that knowledge of what do they need to do. If your team didn't detonate the bomb, then my team now, we know, okay, we can detonate and we can win, or we can not detonate and go into a tie round. But if your team did detonate, my team knows, like, hey, we need to detonate this. We will play riskier in order to make sure that we detonate this, because not detonating is not an option. And I feel like when you have that one-sided and switch halfway through type thing, you kind of get, there's a slight advantage there for the team that goes second.
Yeah, we could go down this path of modes quite some time. So maybe we should circle back.
Yeah, we'll circle back because we have a topic later that will be similar to that.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah.
All right. So in other recent news thing, let's hit quickly on the ReUp Changes. We haven't actually been able to experience those. They go live Tuesday, I think.
Yep, Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah.
So ReUp Changes. They change the actual rewards. So you get more rewards for a re-up, and did they also change the curve, like how difficult it is, I believe?
Yeah.
So we'll start with the difficulty. That one's going to be really quick to just knock out. We can't really comment on that too much because we haven't seen what the new curves look like. I've seen some complaints about PvP having too low of a rate compared to PvE. We'll see if they adjust that as well, but really we can't comment on it too much right now.
We're talking
From the
about
wording,
base
it looks like they adjusted it for PvP.
What's that?
Obviously, we don't know the details. I was just saying, from the wording on the article, it looks like they adjusted it for PvP, so PvP players can get more XP. But I don't know, obviously, the rates and everything.
Yeah.
We're in the dark on that one at the moment.
And everybody, don't forget, this is not the first time that the coalition has looked at XP rates. I think it may be a little over. And it probably, I was about to say, and it probably won't be the last time, because there was a huge issue of trying to bring up, and it was in a blog post. If you're interested, just go to Gears 5 News and search it. You'll probably find it like a year ago, where multiplayer XP was just like terrible compared to this like PvE stuff. So keep that in mind, that this is not the first, and like Chap said, probably not going to be the last.
Yeah. All right. As far as the rewards go, there's it's basically all the skins that we've been seeing for ReUp rewards. Plus, they added in Heroic Marcus and Heroic Cantus.
And Ascendant skins.
Yeah. Yep. And those come one at a time, I believe. So, Heroic Marcus, we're probably going to start seeing a lot of people using him soon. The Cantus thing. So, I saw someone point something out about the Cantus, which is kind of interesting. That's a PvP skin. You cannot use that in PvE anywhere. And it's kind of funny that the PvE people are probably going to be the first ones to earn that Cantus skin.
Yeah.
And they can't really use that anywhere, or for the people who don't play PvP.
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
It's kind of odd that there's not that like top tier thing that is. Sorry, I did top tier, but I just saw that my hand like barely even comes onto the. So that top tier thing that top tier thing that's not available in PvE. That's just a thought I had.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, honestly, I probably would have swapped this around to where Cantus was 20 and Marcus, maybe, just to make people work for it, because COG is more, you can play COG in both modes. Yeah. So I think that's probably I get what they were trying to do, but I also think that it was the wrong way. You probably should have reversed it, but or there's some more heroic skins that just aren't leaked out yet, or we don't know about yet.
Yeah. But yeah.
So maybe perhaps I was just about to say, maybe perhaps they could have had a ReUp 20, you could have two character skins, one cog, one locust, and then ReUp 49 or 50, you could have one cog, one locust again. So everyone's sort of satisfied in that aspect.
Yeah.
Just an idea.
Yeah, if they have enough skins, it would be kind of nice to do something like that.
I'll just say, in terms of the re-ups, and I'm just going to speak my feelings here. I posted this on Twitter, so I'm not going to shy away from it. I'll double down. I personally am not a fan of the long-waited journey to get to this point, to get re-up changes. For what we're getting, and the hype and the like, hey, keep waiting, it's going to be worth your time, just be patient. And then we get to where we are, and it's like, that kind of fell flat. And I think that's an issue. And maybe it's because there's no, I don't know, we're kind of a year and a half plus into development of the game. Maybe they're just kind of out of stuff to put out and they're trying to save it for operations. I don't know. I'm just assuming. But I felt like that just kind of fell flat. I truly think the main changes for this are more for those that are die-hard achievement hunters, just to allow them to finally get to that max re-up and to get all those rewards and everything, to get those achievements. I think that's really who this is accommodated for. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to really benefit from the rewards at all. I don't care about those rewards, really. I'm missing one achievement. I'm missing seriously 1.0. I'm pretty close to that. But besides that, I have all the other Gears achievements until Gears 5. And I know the re-up thing was one of the things holding me back, saying, yeah, I don't really want to go after these achievements anymore. So maybe this will fix that. I don't know.
I mean, they kind of satisfy.
I completely agree with you, Neon. The re-ups, like, they've been hyping up the re-up changes for so long that I'm kind of disappointed with what we got, because really all we got, I mean, the Team Rock skins look good. Team Ice. And the Get Some skins look meh, but the Ascendant skins look pretty good, and the Heroic skins. But like, it feels as if it's not enough to justify this long of a wait.
Yeah.
It feels as if like most of us probably aren't going to reach ReUp 50, so we aren't going to get the Cantus and the Ascendant skins. So I don't really see it as being worth it, but I do think that the new content that they added does look good. I just don't think it's enough.
I'll just, again, opinion here, because that's all this is I feel like they try to make heroic skins to validate and to allow people to continue to chase rewards, which the community wanted. I was an advocate for chase rewards, but I would much of I don't believe they actually had a game plan for chase rewards. The original chase rewards was to unlock characters through your totem system. That was the real chase. And then when they scrapped that, everything became available 1 or 2 weeks after anyways, because everything was in the store. So they had to create, in my opinion, a new rarity to allow us to go like, oh, we want this. And I think that's where heroic came into play. Again, I might be completely off base, but I felt like it was more of a reaction move than a pre-planned move. And which is probably why it fell flat.
I think that ultimately what they have right now for the ReUp system is probably what it should have launched with. And as with most things, right? Yeah, but it's the fact that what we have now is basically what it should have launched with, and we've been waiting a year and a half of them saying, "Oh, there's great changes coming," and I think that just overhyped it, and people were expecting something like amazing rather than just, okay, we brought it up to it's on par with what it should have been. So I think it was just overhyped a lot. I
honestly,
think the changes they made are good. It's just not what people expected.
If I had to describe Gears 5's life cycle in one sentence, it would be 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Every time they put out a new update, they always add cool new things and they always fix things. But there's always something that holds it back, whether it's server issues or the Tour of Duty being lacking or the ReUp skins being somewhat disappointing. Like, it's always 2 steps forward, 1 step back. They're always making improvements overall, but they're always making mistakes as well.
I don't know if I would... So I definitely agree on many aspects about 2 steps forward, 1 step back. The ReUp thing I don't necessarily think is the 1 step back. I think it's just 1 step forward when people were expecting 2 steps forward.
Yeah. Can I just give my summarized thoughts on the ReUp?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, see, the main issue was obviously the leveling up curve and, of course, the rewards as well. But if people reach ReUp 50, that should be a feeling of achievement. You know, like in Gears 2 when people had the logo. Gears 3, people like the gold level 100 logo as well. People like to show it off, which is fine. And so that should be viable for people. And also, people didn't like 1 weapon skin per ReUp. And that was one of the main points that people wanted changing. And I think it was an issue of communication where they shouldn't have put 1 Team Ice skin per ReUp. I think that was disappointing there because they should have learned from that. That's the issue of communication right there. And I think in terms of character skins, they should have had a few more character skins in there as well. Mentioned like maybe having, you know, in Gears of War 4, when you used to ReUp, you used to get a few packs. And it was like just nice little bundle of things you'd get, maybe a banner, a character skins, or weapon skins. I think they should have had like a little package of things every 5 ReUps. So maybe some Gears coins, maybe some weapon skins, nothing too overboard. And then once every 10 or 20, you get a nice chase character. That's what I think would have been best, personally.
Adding some new characters in there, adding every 5 ReUps gives you 500 iron or something like that.
Mm-hmm. I would like that.
Or some coins. Yeah. Something like that would have been good.
And let's not forget that the very first ReUp literally just gave you a blood spray.
Yeah. Someone in chat just asked if Kilo is the new Dana. No, Kilo is the new Octus. Dana is now gone, and I think this week or something, they're putting up a posting for Dana's role. So there is no new Dana yet, at least not that we are aware of. All right, so the next topic here is the future of operations, and really it's just the future of Gears 5. So I wanted to kick this off by, I thought Sarah was the new Octus. No, Sarah is the new Andius. She is a community manager. Octus or Kilo is the senior community manager, and then Dana is the director of communications, so basically their boss. Alright, so I put out a video talking about, is Operation 6 the last operation? And that was based on some clips that I took from one of the latest developer streams, where Dana said there's some changes coming to the way they do operations, and when someone asked if it was bigger and better than other operations, he said he can't really answer that until you understand what they are changing with operations. And to me, all signs pointed towards Operation 6 is the last operation. They will continue adding maps and characters and stuff like that throughout Operation 6, basically a bunch of mid-operation drops, and it just lasts a really long time. But they were done doing full-blown operations. Dana came back on Twitter and said, no, that's not the case. So we know Operation 6 is not the last operation. I'm still sort of thinking that they're doing that, but now all of the mid-drops, it's just going to be called a new operation. So like Op 6 will be a small operation. A month and a half later, or maybe a month to month and a half later, we'll get Operation 7, which is a small operation, and they're just going to keep doing a bunch of short ones with like 1 or 2 maps and a couple characters. What do you guys think?
I'm going to defer to everybody before I go.
All right.
Okay, I'll go first then. So I think with Gears 5's vision for content, it was, in Gears of War 4, the first 12 months, you'd get maps. Once a month, you'd get about 2 maps, right? Whether it was Harbour Haze or Checkout or Dry Dock, whatever. But then after those 12 months, we stopped getting maps. We started getting characters and stuff. So Gears 5's sort of content system was sort of based for it to be sort of consistent throughout. It's supposed to be, of course, 3 months, but we're looking at about 4 months, really.
Yeah.
So I think the aim for that is to keep the longevity throughout the game cycle. So that's why I don't think Operation 6 will be the last. The operations might become smaller in size, perhaps after Operation 6, but I think 2021 will have a couple of more operations at least, and then maybe into 2022. I don't really expect that much.
So how far do you expect it to go in 2021? Do you expect it to go the full year?
Yeah, so I think so. So with March, that'll be Operation 6, and then April, May, with June looking at Operation 7, and then July, August, September, October time maybe looking at 8. So maybe about 3 operations. We might get close to 4. I don't know, but I'd probably expect that.
All right. Banana, you want to go? What do you think we'll be seeing?
So Operation 6 is obviously confirmed. Operation 7, I think, is almost a guarantee, but I think future operations.
They said Operation 6 is not the last, so whether it's called Operation 7 or not, there will be something. So
I think that the operations are going to get smaller and smaller. I don't think they'll add new modes as much. Maybe Wingman. That's one thing that I think might be added.
They said they're not working on new modes. I think
I did not hear that.
Well, so I know they said that in the past. I don't know if their stance has changed on that since then, because that was a while back that they said that.
Yeah, their stance has changed on a few different things, such as bringing back River. But I think that operations will continue, but I think once you get into 2022, I brought this up in comment section of your video that Gears 6 will probably release in 2022, and I think they'll try and continue to support operations until then, but in a much smaller scale, maybe like once every month or so, and more of a focus on smaller things, quality of life improvements, ported maps. But I don't see them abandoning the tour of duty model as a whole. I think they'll still stay, but they'll evolve to be more small scale.
Yeah. So Neon, you said you wanted to hold to the end. Do you want me to say what I'm thinking before you then?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. So I had my video saying what I thought. Dana said Operation 6 is not the end. So I think it's going to be one of two things. Either A, Operation 6 will be normal, and Operation 7 is the thing I was predicting where they start transitioning into just, someone said maintenance mode, where they're just slowly adding stuff and it just stays Operation 7 for a really long time. It's either that, or what I think is more likely is we're going to get like one new map and one ported map for Operation 6 plus a couple characters, and then a month or two later we'll get Operation 7, which has another ported map and maybe another new map, and basically every month, maybe 2 months, we will get maybe, let's call it 2 maps. A combination of either 2 ported maps from Gears 4 or 1 ported and 1 new. And it will just continue like that until, I'll say, September. I think September is the 2-year mark of the game. That's where they will cut it off. And they will give us a year of, okay, we're not doing any more operations. You have a year until Gears 6 comes out or whatever. One thing I would like to see is, before that point, maybe they do a port of a ton of the Gears 4 maps and just say, alright, you've got a year to wait until Gears 6 comes out. There's no more new maps, but bam, there's a ton of Gears 4 ports. You now have a ton of maps to play in this game to hold you over. So yeah, that's what I think, is every month, maybe 2, we'll get a couple of maps and a couple of characters, and they'll just be really small operations until September. Alright, Neon, what do you got for us?
Well, I'm going to try to make it into reading between the lines. That's kind of where my focus is on this. But first and foremost, I'm going to speak on what Banana said. Is you feel as if Gear 6 is coming out in 2022. I feel as if that is not anywhere near close to reality. And the reason for that, and kind of leads into everything, is the reason I feel this way is because, as we've seen in the chat, and Armor JP said it, is that there are contract restraints that Microsoft has to follow suit with. And a ton of employees that were contracted are no longer working at the studio. So given the fact that a lot of those contracts expired within the last, let's just say, 8 to 9 months, or give or take from there, the fact that you're having all these contracts expired means there's no employees to actually work on a game. So I feel as if, in terms of future Gears 6 in particular, that is not going to happen, because they're starting to probably rebuild and get new people in through those contracts to start making the game become more playable, I guess, internally, if they haven't already started that phase. Now, of course, this is speculation, but I just assume that if there is no contracted employees, there's no way to make a game.
Can I comment on that real
That's
quick?
fair. I hadn't thought of that before.
I was just going to say one thing, and I'm only speaking on the coalition. I'm not talking about any outsourcing. I could be wrong, but I just feel like there's a lot of people that left. That doesn't mean that that's the case. That's just my opinion on the subject.
So I was going to say, one, they do have open spots. They are replacing some of those people, but if you think about this, they have to take 6 months off. From a lot of the people who just left recently have to take 6 months off, then they can come back for 18 months. Mm-hmm. If they take 6 months off, and there's a lot of the higher up people working on the game there, and there's people who are backfilling some of the people who left working on the game there. The people who are going to come back will have close to a year, I mean, a little less than a year, that they could be working on that game until it comes out in 2022, and then still have 6 months post-launch support there. So they wouldn't be able to be there the entire time, but they'd be able to be there for part of the lead up to launch and then post-launch. Because you can't just have the contractors be there for 18 months pre-launch and then have everyone leave, because post-launch in today's age is a huge aspect of the industry. So,
well, it is the number one factor to keeping the game alive. So I agree with that part. I'm just saying it just optically appears that way. Now, of course, I'm not involved in the hiring, firing process. I'm not looking at that. I'm not looking at all the new job openings. I'm just saying, here's all the people that are leaving. They're well-known folks, and they're gone. That sucks. What does it mean? I still, no matter what, I still feel as if Gear 6 is not a 2022 release. I just don't feel that way. But in terms of operations and kind of where things are, I still feel as if we got 1 more year's worth of content that is probably already developed, if not already wrapping up development, meaning it's kind of at the end of its course of being developed internally before it is gone out for certification and things of that nature before they release it into operations, assuming that's how their process is. So I think you're going to get 1 or 2 more operations that are kind of big bangs in terms of character drops and skin drops and map drops. But I think after whatever Operation 7 might be, I think Echo's Chaps here is you're going to start seeing miniature operations or just kind of a drop of operations, and just to keep people playing the game as it moves into its full-blown maintenance mode. Historically, Gears, since the Coalition has taken over, and it's a very small sample size, so don't take this like it's going to happen. I can understand why people feel like 2022 is the year for a new Gears, because between Gears 4 to Gears 5, it was a 3-year drop. And we might be seeing the same thing. If it was to happen, and during like the I don't know, E3 or whatever the E3 might be this year, or whatever Microsoft chooses to do, if they follow suit with what they did with Gears 5, that's when we should be expecting a Gears 6 announcement would be this year with a release of 2022. However, with COVID and transitioning, I just don't feel like it is there. I have been very adamant about pushing other like standalone titles, and maybe they're a little bit misleading in terms of like character limits on Twitter, but I feel as if it might be good for the Coalition and Microsoft to say, okay, while Gears 5 may have been successful in some aspects, I've talked about this with Chaps and a few others, like anybody can take data and spin it however you want to make it favorable in your side, but at the end of the day, optically, I don't feel Gears 5 or Gears of War is where it should be for a second top tier IP for Microsoft. Yeah. So I would like to see them break away from the campaign aspect, because I think that's what takes the bulk of the work and all that time for development of a Gears, like a mainline Gears game. But while we're waiting on Gears 6 to come out, let's bring out a standalone multiplayer based game. I'm a huge advocate for like Battle Royale or an Overrun or anything PvE, PvP mode, but I don't want to really get into that. I just want a standalone multiplayer title while we're at the end of Gears 5. So that way you still can play legacy style Gears multiplayer like we know of today, but then move into a standalone multiplayer based game that might be new and unique, assuming there's no true Fenix collection in the work. But that's all speculation. That's just what the fans want. There's no confirmation. I think that's kind of where I'm at. So we're going to get 2 more operations, then mini operations, and then it's going to die off dramatically as we're preparing for what's next.
Yeah,
I'd love it personally if they followed Halo's model, as they've announced Halo Infinite. Like, it's been delayed. They don't want to make the same mistake as Gears 5's in rushing Gears 5 out. They want to take the time with Halo Infinite, but in the meantime, they're doing fan service by having a remastered collection. I'm not going to go deep into Fenix collection yet.
So let's hit on that quickly. So the Fenix collection, what would you expect out of Fenix collection? The first question I always ask people is campaign only or campaign and PvP? What about PvE? So what would you anticipate a Fenix collection including?
Abs, you want to go?
I'd anticipate. Yeah, go on. I'd say anticipate everything, or it could just be given over time as well, so similar to Halo. They can drop certain features over time. For instance, firstly, the campaign comes, remaster Gears 2 and 3's campaign, and then multiplayer can drop shortly after as well. I think if it was a full blown straight out of the gate, obviously that's going to take a couple of years, and I'd want all of it remastered personally, but I think it could be developed over time in an ideal world. What do you think, Neil?
I was going to say, we're kind of already with the foundation's already kind of there. If you really think about it, what 343 did, and maybe a little bit of Bungie before 343, I'm not exactly sure the timelines here, but I'll just say 343 is Halo 1 actually got its enhanced version, new mode in the early 2000 teens, somewhere around there, with Halo 1 Combat Evolved. And that was on a 360, and then they brought it into the Halo Master Chief Collection. So you had both the original Halo that launched in 01 and then the new Halo that was updated. And then again, with Halo 2 Anniversary being the main part of Halo's Master Chief Collection. And then you could have the option to swap through your visuals, which is something that is really cool to do. And I think maybe the Coalition has the ability to do that. We kind of seen that with filters. Maybe that's something that is a filter. I don't know. The game development I know you have to run like 2 engines. I think it was 2 engines running at the time, but maybe technology's changed over the last 7, 8, 6, 5 years, whatever it might have been. I would like to see that. If you don't remaster Gears 3's campaign, that's fine. Bring it up to speed, 120 frames. I think that's probably possible given the fact that there's a PC build out there, which the modding community loves to death. Go ahead and do that, and allow us to just have like a browser feature that's in Master Chief Collection right now. If those that haven't played it or don't know anything about it, they have an ability to basically select what game modes, what game you want. And I understand that could like limit the player base, but it does allow you to fine tune your preferences to what you want to play. And then you can have your standalone ranked modes where it's just kind of like particular. You go play Gears 2 or you go play Gears 3 or whatever game you want to go play, and go play that ranked mode. I think that would be really fun to see them do. So I think that what Master Chief Collection, while the launch was absolutely god awful, where they are today because of technology advancements that they have said, I think we might be able to have something like that for the Gears games, and I think that would be a really good option. I don't know of. I don't really care about what the tuning is. Pick the tuning that is at the end of the game. If it was title update 6, for example, or whatever the last title update is, take that update, apply it, and then don't change it. Yeah. You don't need to worry about that. It's already set in stone. People know how to play it. If you don't like to play the Gears 2, go play Gears 3. If you don't like to play Gears 3, go play Gears 1. If you don't like that, well, come on back and you go play Gears 4, Gears 5.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of outsourcing on the MCC as well, wasn't there?
Oh, yeah. There was a lot of outsourcing for that.
Sort of a separate discussion there is I'm curious how limited TC is on. So Splash Damage has done a lot of stuff for Gears, right? Splash Damage,
yeah.
The company that owned Splash Damage got bought out by Tencent.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if that has any limitations on how much future work Splash Damage will be doing for Gears. Not because there's any beef there, but just it's under new ownership. I don't know.
I think we'll know in time, right? I feel like that's the only way we're going to find out. And by the way, I want to catch up because I don't want to fail to mention chat here. Is Terry makes a great point. Give the game a Series X performance and resolution boost. Fix Ultimate Edition on PC, which obviously the Coalition has made some tweaks to. I will acknowledge that. And release OG Gears 1 and Ultimate Edition and Gears 2 The Judgment on PC and Steam. And I would agree. And something else, and I didn't mention this, and I'm sorry, I don't want to take up everybody's time to speak, but Gears 1 through 3 and Judgment did not have the ability to go be a Steam release or a Windows Store release other than Gears 1 Ultimate Edition, but that was terrible because of what they were using to make the game. I feel like Gears hasn't been given a true fair shot. Gears 1 PC, when it released in 2007, was like playing Crysis. If anybody had a computer that was playing PC games back then, it was like trying to play Crysis. It didn't sell a lot of games, but now that the coalition has been able to do 4 and 5, and then start porting over to Microsoft Store and Steam, and then Game Pass. There's just so many more people that can get involved in the game, and there's a lot of legacy people that won't touch 4 and 5.
Yeah. So I guess I've always been one of those people who keep saying I would love the Marcus Fenix collection, but I don't think it's the right move. At least not right now. So, one, it's gonna be super expensive to bring those games over. Like, it's got to be crazy expensive to do that.
What do you think expensive would? What's the definition, just for myself and everybody to understand, when you say the word expensive?
I can't really quantify it, but I'm just thinking. All right. So one of the ways I look at it is opportunity cost. So if they're making that means there's some other project that they are not working on. They're not dedicating those resources to, and I feel like whatever that other project is could be more profitable to them. We've already heard that Gears 1, they basically had to remake from the ground up for Ultimate Edition. I assume it would be the same for Gears 2, maybe Gears 3. There's all the AI involved with the Locust that they haven't bothered with in Gears 4 or 5 that they'd have to do now. Getting all of those multiplayers working and functional is probably going to be quite the task. Then you've mentioned the playlist split. Like, depending on how the playlist is set up, you might have very low populations in certain modes. And then that would be traditional Gears multiplayer. That means in order for that game to be sustainable, campaign won't sustain that game, right? People will play it and be done with campaign, basically. It needs something to sustain it, which would be multiplayer. And if it uses traditional Gears multiplayer, that means they can't put out a Gears 6, for example, that would compete with that traditional experience for quite some time. That's why I feel that in order for Marcus Fenix collection to be successful, it would have to be they wrap up Gear 6 or that story or whatever, then they put out this collection, and at that time they start doing, you mentioned a battle royale or an overrun type thing, put out a game like that doesn't compete with the multiplayer of the Fenix collection, put out an RPG or an RTS that doesn't compete with the Fenix collection. So you wrap up the Gears story that they have right now, then you do the collection and start putting out other products that do not compete with the Fenix collection, and allows the Fenix collection to remain that top tier traditional Gears experience for a while. Because think about Marcus Fenix or the Master Chief collection. Look at how long it's been since we've had a true Halo that would compete with that.
I'll say, and I'll echo Shadow's thoughts just on this part. Is I understand the rebuilding and making things from the ground up, but if I remember correctly, like Black Tusk Studios, before they became the Coalition, was already working on another game, maybe Perfect Dark Zero or something around the lines. I can't remember what it was rumored to be back then. And then when Microsoft acquired the IP, it became the Coalition, and then within a year and a half or so, like Shadow said, that's when we got Ultimate Edition. I feel as if the Coalition is as big as I think they are in terms of studio size and contracts, and like we've already established how that kind of works. So let's say it is a 300, 400 people company, and then there's outsourcing. I don't see any reason why they couldn't personally be working on a Gear 6 internally and then outsourcing a Fenix collection or something around those lines. But I will say, if they don't go that route, I am all for, and I want it the most, is a non-traditional multiplayer-based game that allows the franchise to evolve into something a little bit different than what we know and see today. And that's what I think you're making the point of, which I agree with, is take PvE, take PvP, merge them together, make a standalone mode that is like Gears something else, kind of like how we did Tactics and Pop. Do something like that. And if you don't do that, then I want a battle royale, just because I think it's addicting gameplay and it's never exactly the same. But Abs, I heard you snickering, so I'll let you go.
No, I was just about to say, I think Chaps said that the opportunity cost, but with Gears 5, it might have had the most sort of successful launch, and it was the first AAA title to release on Game Pass. Generally, with Gears of War franchise, it really has to regrow that player base. So if Gears 6 is the next installment, and there are many people that have a sour taste of Gears 5 and don't really trust the Coalition, going into Gears 6, people are going to have a sour taste from Gears 5, and that's going to affect Gears 6 as well. So I think they need to regrow that player base, show people what this amazing franchise is really about, and then from there, create the hype, similar to how Halo did it with Infinite. In the meantime, we're going to wait for Gear 6, which may have many, many years of development, like many years of constant support. Halo Infinite is a really long-term plan, isn't it, in terms of its game cycle. So if Gear 6 had the same thing, but in the meantime, enjoy Gears Phoenix Collection or something that will break the mold, like a Battle Royale or something like you're saying, to regrow that player base, to regain that trust, then they can go ahead and finish their trilogy.
And I think something to regain that trust, I'll use the Battle Royale as an example. That could be a completely different discussion, but I think that is a valid point. I do not believe that the Phoenix Collection is the right thing for that, because one, it would need to delay Gear 6 for so long because they don't want to put out the Phoenix Collection and then have a competing multiplayer product come out right after it. And in addition, you would bring back the people with the nostalgia who would want to play it. A lot of them would then realize, oh wow, this game feels pretty dated in terms of mechanics. And also you'd need the Coalition to do it right, really. And that's honestly still a question I have, is can they do it justice while working on other products at the same time? We saw that they made Ultimate Edition, heavily outsourced, of course. Gears 4 was being worked on at the same time. That launched with some pretty big issues. They outsourced a lot of tactics while they were working on Gears 5. Gears 5 launched with some pretty crazy issues. Do we really have... I know leadership has changed at the Coalition a lot recently, but I would much prefer to see the Coalition prove themselves by putting out a polished Gears 6 type thing without them also having this Phoenix Collection thing going on. Or at least have Phoenix Collection be early stages of development. I would like to see it after Gears 6, but not before.
I'll say this part is, if, and this is my opinion on it, is if the Coalition, whoever's running the show, or whoever they want to put on stage, for example, or virtual, whatever, however they're going to do it this year, if they came out and they said, we know Gears 5 is what it is, it's been successful in their own terms, but we want to make sure that we go back and we re-examine ourselves. Kind of like that's what they did. They rebooted Gears 5. That's what they're calling it, a reboot of Gears 5. I would say we're wanting to reboot our studio. We're wanting to reboot our franchise. And so with that, today we're going to announce a Phoenix Collection. And then I can promise you the hype for that would outweigh them saying, well, we're here to announce Gear 6. Like, yeah, people are going to get excited. But I think the media and everybody, that the fanboys and like all of us, that's what we are. We're fans of the studio. I think if they said that, I think that would outweigh anything that Gear 6 would potentially be. But I do see where you're coming from.
Well, and here's the thing, though.
I just feel it would be good.
That game, it's going to be on Game Pass no matter what's next. It will be on Game Pass, right? They're not going to make the money from initial sales. They will make the money from long-term people playing the game. And I think Phoenix Collection, you're right, that would generate a ton of hype and a ton of buzz. And if they were selling the games, it would probably sell a ton of copies. But in terms of retaining players for a long time, I don't know what would do better. Like, Phoenix Collection probably could retain people if they did it right, but that would also mean delaying Gear 6 for a really long time in order to make the investment worth it. They did it after Gears 6 and then started, because they can't do it before Gear 6 and then delay Gear 6 for a really long time, because we're in the middle of a story right now. They need to wrap up that story. Then they have the opportunity to put out that Phoenix Collection which doesn't cause them to delay an ongoing story. And then they can start putting out titles that do not compete with it.
Doesn't Halo 4 and Halo 5 have a continuing story, and then MCC came before and between, right? Then
yeah,
that,
but
isn't how that went?
there's only about 3-year difference between Halo 4 and 5. Halo 4 came out in 2012. Halo 5 came out in 2015, so it wasn't that long of a wait.
And MCC came out in 14, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it came out in November of 2014. So it didn't delay 5, but it led up into 5, and there was a lot of momentum leading into 5. But I personally did not like Halo 5, to be fair. It's my least favorite Halo. It's my least favorite Halo game. Although I'm looking forward to Halo Infinite because it's going back to the roots. I know this is not a Halo Infinite or Halo stream, but it's just there's good comparisons here. If it is at all possible, release a standalone game mode, multiplayer base only, and then if you're not doing that, if it's Master Chief Collection, release it. Give us a year leading into Gear 6, while Gear 6 is in development, to buy time to allow the player base to continue. Because I just don't see. I mean, I could be wrong. I just don't see it happening in 2022. I just don't for Gear 6. Giving the way
with
the world
Halo
is.
MCC, they have. Sorry, with Halo MCC, they have the seasons as well, so that is sustainable really by keeping players playing.
They do it
season basis.
It's almost like it's a little bit, in my opinion, I like it a little bit more than what we have in Gears 5, to be quite honest, because there's daily, weekly objectives. Like, yeah, we have that, but the way that the Master Chief Collection has done them is great, and then also the fact that you're unlocking brand new experiences through these seasons to like upgrade your vehicles and your warhogs. And if you don't like it, you can go back and toggle it off. If you have it, toggle it on. You get like new battle rifle skins, new warhog skins. Like I could feel maybe that could be something that could be integrated potentially. I mean, there's a lot of people in the modding community that are doing that right now that don't have nearly the amount of most likely experience that developers do. So maybe that could be a way to help monetize the game or replayability to unlock those type of things, just to play the game in a new, unique.
And not only that, in Master Chief Collection, once the season is over, you can still go ahead and get all items from that season.
Yep. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not saying Marcus Fenix Collection wouldn't have replay value or sustainability, and I'm not saying they shouldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying right now doesn't seem like the opportune time. Doing it before Gear 6 does not seem like an ideal strategy in my mind.
So I guess let's ask this, just because it's the four of us, and maybe the stream we can chime in too. Maybe there's like a poll we could run or something. But if everybody had to wager today, invisible money, free of charge, and you basically said, "Hey, we know that most likely there's going to be a Gears announcement in 2021 during E3 or whatever Microsoft event will be for that," what would you say it would be? What's the first thing that comes to mind? What is it gonna be? Abs, banana,
spin-off game, I would think.
Gear 6.
Gear 6 spinoff.
I don't know. I think my own desires as a fan is gonna override my sort of expectation.
Yeah, I mean, is this what you expect or what you want?
No, like just what you want. Just what you it's obviously what you want, because what do you like? If everybody said, okay,
would be Fenix Collection.
What I want is The Division, except you play as Stranded. Basically,
okay, that's fair. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Like a Gears RPG where you're playing as the Stranded. You have PvP combat zones you can go into. Like, I think that would be really cool. That's what I want. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it would be, because that's also something that would not compete with. That's what I've been saying is, do something that's not going to compete with Gear 6. The story of an RPG type thing, or a Battle Royale, would not compete with Gear 6. The multiplayer experience would not compete with a Gear 6. Like, I think something like that would be really cool.
I'll just say, I think whatever is next, given the fact that the Coalition has kind of really changed the Gears 5 did evolve from what the prior games were. We saw that with like Jack abilities and the PvE abilities making their way to the High Buster DLC. I feel like whatever's next is going to be a standalone product, kind of like Tactics, but maybe not Tactics directly.
Do you think it would be a single player, not necessarily single player, but like a campaign driven thing, or do you think it would be a more
multiplayer experience? That's what I feel.
Yeah,
I think that's the way to. Good.
Oh, I was going to say they need to follow the shared ecosystem business model that COD have right now, where they integrate different things into different experiences. For instance, Warzone and Cold War as well. So if there was a standard Gears of War multiplayer experience, let's just say for argument's sake it was Battle Royale, that can be a shared ecosystem with Gears 6, where people can carry over content, and basically it's just a shared ecosystem business model that COD is thriving off right now. Food for thought there.
I think that's a good point.
Why? Okay.
So I barely even contributed to the topic of the Fenix collection.
Go
so
for
I'd
it.
like to offer my thoughts.
Yeah, go ahead.
First of all, I think the biggest question would be which games would be included in it, because now we have a new generation of consoles. So Marcus is in Gears 4 and 5, and even Gears Judgment. He's not the main character, so would they put those games in the collection? And another thing to take into account would be the possibility that a lot of people don't like Gears 5, and if you launch the Fenix collection, either before or after Gears 6, a lot of people are going to abandon the mainline Gears games in order to replay their nostalgia. And I also think, in terms of the multiplayer, it'd probably be fairly similar to the Master Chief Collection with different playlists for each of the Gears games, because each of the games feels completely different. And as for the content itself, I think Gears 2 Ultimate Edition is definitely, like, they can't skip out on that. But Gears 3, I don't really think it needs a remaster or a remake. It still looks and plays pretty good. Same thing with Judgment.
I agree.
Get rid of the camera shake, maybe.
I would say get rid of that.
That's ridiculous. Camera shake. But like, updating the textures a bit, updating the frame rate resolution, I think that's fine. When people talk about the Fenix collection, everyone always disregards Judgment. Personally, I like Judgment, and I would like to see it in the Fenix collection. But as for whether or not they should focus on Gears 6 or the Fenix collection, I think it should be like a quarter of the team, like 25%, should be on the Fenix collection, and the remaining should be on Gears 6. I think that like having it in pre-production and having a small team working on it while the main team works on Gears 6, and once Gears 6 comes out, kind of split it 50-50. I think that would be better. But yeah, Gears 6 is definitely the priority because of the ending to Gears 5. I feel as if I had something else to say, but that was it. But I did want to go back to the operations. I mentioned that I left a comment on your video, Operation 6, is this the end? And so I did the math. If each operation is roughly 3 months, then that would mean that hypothetically, if Gears 6 releases in November 2022, then that would mean that there would be 11 operations. But I do not see that as sustainable.
But would they continue operations all the way up to launch? That seems a bit excessive.
I don't see that feasible at all. So another thing to take into account is the fact that there are 2 achievements that are linked to reaching the general in the tour of duty. So they cannot remove tour of duty unless they alter those achievements or alter the requirements.
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't think they would remove it. I think they would just make it like the legend rank thing, basically. It's like, so it continues.
Yeah,
you hit general, and then all right, we're not doing a new tour, so you're legend now. You just keep going up in legend rank or something.
And back to Gear 6 again, or Operation 6. In terms of content, I think we'll probably see like 2 ported maps and at least 2 new maps. They said a few months ago that they're dropping the escape tiles in order to focus much more heavily on maps. So I think we're going to get more maps now. And as for characters, I think it'll be fairly predictable. Ukon, Hoffman, hopefully Bernie. And as for new modes, as you said, they aren't planning on bringing any new modes, but that could change. But I think it'll be a fairly standard operation. However, Operation 4 and 5 had a big mistake, in my opinion. That was too much of a focus on credits in the tour of duty. Having credits is fine, but like there was no substance in the tour of duty rewards. It was all fluff and filler. Just half of it was coins. And I think that's something that they need to change for Operation 6, because much of the tour of duty for 4 and 5 was not interesting at all. I think they should coins revert back to the Gears 4 style, where you get credits for your performance in a match, your first win of the day, things like that. I think that would be a better alternative.
If Operation 6 has a traditional tour of duty, I'd be very curious to see what they are planning on doing with it. Because I know Operation 4 had the big change in the way they did tour of duty, and there were some complaints about that. I know we spent like an entire stream talking about that.
We did. You, me, and Embry, and some, I can't remember who else before.
I think Dana was even on one of the streams that we talked about tour of duty for a while.
And he was.
And then Operation 5 came out, and it was basically the same thing. They didn't really... I mean, I know they're not just going to listen to our feedback, but a lot of the community was saying the same stuff, and they didn't really change it from 4 to 5. I'm wondering if Operation 6 will take any of that feedback into consideration, or if they're just going to say, no, we're near the end of the cycle now. We've got this set up. It works good enough.
I think that's the approach.
Going back to the changes that Dana mentioned, I could possibly see them doing a revert back to the credit system like we saw in Gears 4, and have the operation be more focused on actual content and have you be able to earn coins through medals, but also through just playing the game itself. I think that's what's best, and I think there's a possibility that they might revert to that, because after 2 operations with lots of feedback on the coins being fluffed out in the tour of duty, I think that it's the only logical thing to do, to remove the coins from the tour of duty, but PC doesn't always do the most logical things, so it's kind of a roll of the dice.
I just don't...
We'll find out in a couple of weeks, but yeah, we don't know.
I would be really shocked if they spent that time to introduce that back into the game, or back into the franchise, given the fact that it hasn't been in this game at all, and they did everything they could to get away from supply drops, for example.
Well, no, you weren't, but then you weren't saying bring back loot boxes.
Yeah,
right?
no, I'm not suggesting.
You just meant earning coins with XP, basically. Like you're playing a match, and at the end of this match, you get this many coins.
Like in Gears 4, like you would get 200 coins for your first win of the day, and you would get a few thousand for completing an achievable speed run, things like that. I'm not suggesting that they bring back loot boxes. I'm just suggesting that they have coins earnable through gameplay, where you'll get
I follow you
every match based on your performance.
Okay, I'm back. I'm following you again. Okay, yeah. So you're saying basically take kind of what they're trying to do with the dailies and PvE and bring it into multiplayer. Follow you. Okay, all right. I'm there. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, that makes more sense. At first, I was like, wait, I don't understand, but I'm following you and tracking you. Yeah, I would agree. I would like to bring that feature in. There's no reason you don't. It provides an incentive for PvP players to play. Not everybody likes to play PvE, so yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that.
Mhm.
Expand on it.
Last point before you might want to move on, chaps. I don't know, but I think the Call of Duty won't change that much. Even though myself personally, I think I'd want a bit more content in there. But I feel like they heavily want to push this Gears coins because they want people to earn stuff the way they want to earn it. So we're starting to see more like 2 character skins in the store per week. It's fluctuating a little bit at the moment, but I think that might be the way forward for them. So they really want to push this way of spend your coins on what you want. So I don't really see much content coming in Call of Duty next, even though personally I would want that, but I think the Coalition are sort of stuck with what they've got now. I want to go through with that by the looks of it.
Hey, before we go, I've seen Sub Scorpion say this a few times in the channel, and I just want to like kind of address their concerns. Is they said screw PvP, and then they said not everyone likes to play PvP, and I am fully in agreement with you. I have no argument there. I think the problem that we have with the Gears game is, after, like Chap said earlier in the stream, is if you're making a game and it's purely focused on campaign based, you're not going to latch those players into your game. It's going to play the campaign once or twice, and then they'll have their experiences, and then they'll leave. So PvP, while you may not necessarily enjoy it, there's going to be a handful plus more people that would say, I don't like PvE. It sucks. I don't care for it. I only want to play multiplayer competitive style modes. And I think that's the issue that Gears has with its player base. And that's why I, for one, will say I would like to see both a combination of PvE and PvP merged together into a singular game mode at some point down the road. So don't just understand that we're not all advocating for PvP, because if I had to say over the majority of us on this stream, I'd say at least half of us love PvE content in 4 and 5 more than what PvP is. So we're actually more PvE players. I enjoy both personally, but just understand that you have to find a way to keep players playing the game, even after campaign or PvE. Because I could play PvE over and over and I get bored.
I think it's a case of taste. For as long as I can remember, the Gears community has always been split between PvP players and mainly PvE players. Gears 3 was like that. Judgment 4, and especially 4 and 5. Like I have a few friends who exclusively play PvP, but I also have more friends that play just PvE. So I think it's kind of a taste thing about what people feel like playing. What appeals to them, and I guess they could merge them, but that would be rather ambitious.
So the hard thing with merging, which we can discuss more in a second, but one of the hard things there is a lot of the people who like PvP or like PvE, they don't like it because of the way the mode plays necessarily. It's more of people who like PvP, most of the time they're playing that because they like that adrenaline and that drive of, I want to be the best, I want to play against other people. And PvE people want that more like, no, I still like a challenge. Like PvE can be hard, but I don't want to play against other people. And that's the big thing, which makes it hard to combine.
Some people prefer more competitive, some people prefer more cooperative.
I get what you're saying about taste, but I think it needs to be captivating as well. There are so many people that play Gears 5 just for its campaign. Now, get all those players and captivate them with something that'll integrate them into multiplayer. So there's so many people that played Hivebusters DLC, for instance, but they just played that, got it done, and went off Gears 5. So I think they need something more captivating. I don't know if you want to link this to your light mass mode or any other sort of new ideas to sort of captivate these players.
Yeah, so let's talk about Neon. One of the things you've talked about is Gears needs to evolve, basically, right?
Yep.
So I've seen two main things. One is Gears. I don't want to say devolve, but Gears needs to evolve back to what it used to be. needs to go back to that simpler style. And then I've seen other things where it needs to evolve. What's the future of Gears like? What's that next big step that it takes to make it like entertaining again? Does anyone in here want Gears to go back to like the Gears 1 through 3 style of gameplay compared to what we have now?
Yes.
I would. So
yes, I think that was my biggest complaint with Gears 5. I think it's changed too much.
I would say that the way it started in Gears 3, and that's where the wheels kind of started falling off, despite the game being a great game. When TDM came into Gears, in particular TDM, I could even say maybe a little bit of King of the Hill in Gears 2, is that the way that the game played became more of, okay, I don't care about cover base, I don't care about all that. I'm just running in, it's shotgun fest, and let's go. And I understand that, and I actually enjoy that play style. I do. I like that. I loved execution in Gears 1, but once Gears 2 came out, it was all about King of the Hill. But then when Gears 3 came out, I think TDM was the very most popular game mode. So I feel like we're kind of still in limbo between trying to go back to catering to Gears 1 players, which is why execution for a short time was popular in Gears 5 when it a few weeks or a few months after launch. But we're in limbo of reliving in the past and trying to live in the present. And I think that's where we are. I think what needs to happen is TDM is the core issue. So if we can eliminate respawn modes, make that decision and draw the line in the sand, and say, here's how we're going to force you all to play. We're going to play at Warzone. We're going to play execution. If that's what you want to do, okay, great. But I don't think that's the right step, to be quite honest. I think that whatever the Coalition does next for Gear 6 needs to stay the Coalition's vision and not relive an Epic's vision. And I think they're trying to cater to Epic Games and the Coalition crowd, because there's a lot of people that don't like Gears 1 through 3, and then there's people that love Gears 4 and 5. But then I personally enjoy the legacy games, so I would like that more than what we have now, but I love King of the Hill. But that's the only fun mode to play, in my opinion, outside of free for all.
So this is the issue with long-standing IPs, right? There's fans that really like Gears 1 multiplayer, but there's fans like me. I'm more of a Gears 2 sort of enthusiast with the multiplayer as opposed to Gears 1. Obviously, Gears 3 was a lot different to Gears 1, and Gears 4 and 5 as well. So all of these fans have different opinions, but TC just need their vision. And it's like what you said, Neon, in the Gearsology stream, that the philosophy has changed based on the game modes. The philosophy of how the game plays has changed based on the game modes. So whichever game modes are popular, that changes the way the game plays. So with Execution and Warzone, they're not popular game modes anymore. I feel like they're really sort of dated. They need to evolve. That's what Gridiron is, but it feels like even Gridiron's lacking. For instance, if it was a battle royale, if it can keep Gears of War's gameplay, I don't know, they could go back to the roots. They can go back to Gears 1 style or Gears 2, or even have it a bit more updated, whether they want it like Gears 3. That in itself is unique. Nothing plays like Gears of War. It doesn't need to evolve that much, but as a battle royale, it would be really unique anyway, because it is a Gears of War game.
So you mentioned how respawn modes basically they entered in a new phase of Gears of War, basically, right? And part of me, I really appreciate those single life ones. I really do enjoy those. I didn't appreciate it back in the day when I was playing those, but now looking back, I really did appreciate those. And when they come back, like Gridiron right now, and I can play that, I really like that. But the thing I look at is they've had these games out now for a while where they have respawn modes and single life modes, and the reason the single life modes are dying out is because people aren't playing them. And is that a trend of that people just want to play respawn modes, or is it that the respawn mode isn't fun enough? And I think
Go ahead, finish it.
I was gonna say I don't know if I don't think we should say like okay they should not put out any respawn modes, for example. I think they should put out the modes that they think would do well, and the modes that people enjoy people will go to those. They could do no respawn modes and force people to play that version of Gears, which I really enjoy. But is that really the most beneficial thing for the coalition to do? Because that could turn a lot of people off.
So if we're looking at play base and the data of who's playing what, King of the Hill is the most popular game mode in Gears 5. Hands down, Dana's confirmed that quite a few times. Free for all is popular, but it's more popular than, a Gridiron or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
King of the Hill is in a league of its own. In Gears of War 4, they had Execution and Warzone, and Warzone dropped off as a whole. Gears 5, and then Execution was in ranked, it dropped off. Gridiron, they brought out Gridiron, it lasted a few weeks, it was in ranked, it dropped off again. It dropped off as well. So they're trying to rework that. I think the play base speaks for itself. The respawn modes, I'm not a fan of TDM, but it's just the way sort of gaming is going, in my opinion. Battle Royale is a bit different because it is single life in a way, but with COD and everything, you get brought back into the game as well. People buy you in, so it is a respawn in a way. So it's evolved. What do you think?
I would say that it's the element of the reward, right? And the human mind is, if you go play an Execution or Warzone game and you die, you're sitting there waiting, and no one wants to really necessarily do that, right? So I understand, and I fully agree about why you implement game modes such as King of the Hill and TDM. My personal issue with those modes is the fact that we still are playing the same modes that we were playing in Gears 2 and then in Gears 3, which are now 10 plus years ago, right? That's where my issue lies with it. So I just want to see something. I just want to see whatever new mode or new game, whatever it might be, that's not a traditional mode that comes in and it's like, oh my gosh, that captivates me. I just want to keep playing this. Like, I just want to keep playing it. But the issue that, and this was something that was noted in Gears 2 from Joe Graff or whatever. Basically, they saw a significant drop off of people not wanting to play the game if they didn't get a kill or multiple kills within their first match. So that is the Gears of War story. If you don't understand the movement and the mechanics of how the game works, you're most likely not going to stay with the franchise. So that's where the issue, I think, of trying to cater to newer players and then trying to cater to legacy players and blending them together. It's just, I don't think it's ever going to work. We've seen that with 5. I think that was the number one issue there, is they introduced modes like Arcade, and Arcade was supposed to be the mode that introduced new players into the franchise, in my opinion. I don't
the mode I'm playing the most right now.
I don't think it did that. I don't think it did that at all. I think it's for what it is, it's a cool mode, but I don't think it actually did what they were hoping it to do. I just don't think people like the fact that if you die, you have to wait.
Yeah,
I don't think.
No, I mean,
unless
that's definitely it.
Unless there's an objective, which is like where like Siege and things like that do. But games like Call of Duty started introducing more kill streak rewards to make you like over time, right? And I'm not trying to compare Gears to Call of Duty. I'm just saying like people in Call of Duty wanted to get kills and get your 3 kills, and then I can call in a UAV or I can call in an airdrop or whatever, a supply drop. But in Gears, you can't do that. You get your 3 kills and then you die and you might not even respawn or whatever.
I think a big thing is, in Gridiron, seemed like it tried to accomplish this, is having that no respawn mode, but decrease the round times, get quicker rounds going so that you have that intensity of single life modes, but when people die, they're not sitting out for 5 minutes waiting to respawn.
Mm-hmm. I think Dodgeball tried that in a way.
I love Dodgeball.
And Dodgeball is a fun mode, but it's not something that would ever be top tier in this game, in the Gears of War game. I do feel as if Execution and Warzone ran its course. I think we even knew that when Judgment, they literally added Warzone, I believe, as DLC in its first or second title update. Execution. Okay, sorry. Execution. They added that as literally, DLC later on. So I think even Epic kind of knew the writing was on the wall at the time for those game modes. In terms of evolution, I just think we need to. I would like to see a game that is just completely unique. It doesn't need to be anything similar. A standalone product that is doesn't need to be anything similar to what we've seen in a Gears of War game. Re-envision Gears, slap the Gears title on it. I don't care what you do. Try something different that has the ability to captivate.
I don't want to keep mentioning Battle Royale and just keep forcing it, but even with like you said, Neon, that people don't want to sit there after they die and wait and wait and wait. Battle Royale literally solves that problem as well, because if you die, say if you're a solo, you die, you can't be brought back in, obviously, and you could just back out, go back straight into the next one. You don't have to wait for your teammates, or even if it's duo, trio, you can wait. If you die, but your teammate's still alive, your teammate can buy you back in. Or even if your teammate dies, you back out, go straight into the next game.
I like BRs.
You can also support your teammates who are still alive by using the map and pinging certain locations.
If they're playing a if you're playing a team-based one, I think as was just saying, if you're playing a solo map or by yourself, you have the ability to just leave and go and move on and get whatever.
And I love battle royales, and they really do solve that problem well. We might have to have a whole different discussion about this at some point. I just really question whether a Gears BR would play well. There could be a BR set in the Gears universe, but sticking with the Gears gameplay mechanics and Gears gameplay as we know it now, I really question how well that would work in a full-scale BR.
I think that's where it just has to be completely changed, but some of the mechanics can be reintroduced, brought over type thing. Yeah. I mean, but I would say one thing, and I don't want this to be forgotten. I want to find this 1 second. Well, Chaps, I think this is something that I would like to see as well, and I would be an advocate for this. Is you took the time to post what you called a light mass bomb mode on Reddit, and I know that some people replied saying it's like Overrun, and or I'm sorry, not Overrun, but Overwatch, and
which I have never played or watched.
Which, however, that would be a good example of merging PvP mechanics and PvE style game mode to where you're using your individual assigned roles in a match, and you can still respawn even if you die, and you're pushing, in your version you're pushing the light mass bomb, but in Overwatch you're pushing the payload to the objective, and you're playing attack and defend. So it does actually cure some of those issues. I just don't know if the Gears of War community would be accepting of it overall.
Yeah, I think the really big thing that it does is it changes up gameplay by allowing the use of like Swarm and Locust, sort of like what Overrun had. And I think Overrun was a fantastic mode. Even if they just brought Overrun back, I would absolutely enjoy it. I felt it was very well balanced. I had that thing earlier in the stream that I talked about how I don't feel that attack and defend things are necessarily perfectly balanced because whoever goes second has a slight advantage. So I would like to see some neutral objective Overrun. And Light Mass is what I came up with. There's definitely flaws in it. So one thing I wanted to talk about is how... So I have played Paladins, which I've heard is very similar to Overwatch, with I think they call it Siege in Paladins, and it's the payload thing in Overwatch. You know how you select your characters, and both teams have the same pool of characters to pick from, right? Mm-hmm. That inherently makes it balanced. If you have something that is like monster versus human, you don't have the correspond like the mirrored part on each side, so it can't really be that perfectly balanced thing. And I wonder how you tackle that. The thing I said was like, one side's monsters, one side's human. Halftime you switch. If it's still tied after that round, you go human versus human. And that solves it, but not really, because if the monsters are always more powerful, then you're always going to go into that round 3 anyways, and you might as well just make a mode that is basically a class-based human versus human. Like,
I would say just.
But you also brought up.
Go ahead.
Sorry, you also brought up that one alternative would be to have the COG characters level up as the match progresses, like using points to upgrade. For example, you start as a Stranded and slowly work your way up to an Onyx Guard, and you have more health and better equipment. And if they balance it right, it could work very well.
And that's one thing I thought of.
Balancing is the biggest issue.
And that's the thing I thought of to make it so like Locust could go from low tier to high tier. Same thing could happen with COG, basically. But you still run into that fundamental issue of it's not the same mechanics on both sides. So it is literally impossible to perfectly balance. They could get it pretty close. But I think that's...
To me, that would actually make it more fun, because it's asymmetrical, and it kind of... like Overrun, it really appealed to both the PvP and PvE crowds, because it was kind of a blend of both.
Well, and that's what I loved about Overrun, actually, is the fact that it was able to not be perfectly balanced between creatures and humans, because you switched sides halfway through, and it was a time-based, it was a attack-defend time-based thing that allowed it to be imbalanced, and it was whoever could do it faster. But it still just doesn't sit right with me that this team that goes second does have a slight advantage, but you can never really get around that.
I think the fix to that is just do what games like League of Legends does. You have your player pool or your creature pool, and no matter what side you're on Team 1 or Team A, Team B, you pick whatever you want, and you can cross out a particular like character or model, whatever ability, whatever you want to call it, and you just allow that team to have a variant of this character color or whatever it might be, or hue on the color. Or a hue on the character or something like that to identify what team they're on if you have confusion.
I talked to someone about that the other night, and we were really debating whether that would be a good idea to have Locust, Swarm, and humans all fighting on the same team.
I don't think that would be a good idea. I think it would just lead to confusion and kind of take you out of the experience.
That's the way you could balance it, but yeah, I think it almost takes away from the experience.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Yeah.
No, I just think it's multiplayer, so it's not really sort of has to be according to the law or anything like that. And I wouldn't want to see humans versus humans because it's Gears of War. I want to see something that only Gears of War can provide. The monsters that I want an experience that only Gears of War, that Overwatch or any game like this can't sort of provide this experience. There's other game modes that people have been talking about. I think, Chaps, you mentioned a game mode, like a Juggernaut game mode. I think that's more of a LTE sort of game.
Yeah,
game
I mean,
mode.
I feel like they could modify Guardian to make it a Juggernaut mode.
Yeah.
So another thing I was thinking about for Lightmass is imagine if it was human versus human, but they had something in, let's just say it's something in the lore that made it so that it's almost like the Jackpot ability where you can control, the humans can control the swarm, but also have that ability for Locust. So it's human versus human, but if you upgrade your tier, you are now controlling a swarm. Like, it's basically like your character is controlling them, or you have a Jack that is controlling that swarm.
I think a better alternative, or one that makes a little bit more sense, would be have it be Pendulum Wars themed.
UIR versus Gears.
Yeah.
I feel like that's still human versus human, though, and the thing I was really pushing for, and I think the thing a lot of people want, is that monster versus human thing, and not just humanoid swarm, but or humanoid Locust, but the actual monsters and being able to control them.
Yeah, and like I said, Overrun and potentially Lightmass is a mode that equally appeals to both the PvP and the PvE crowd.
Yeah.
And if you have monsters and humans on the same team, that could potentially lead to some confusion for the exclusively PvP players, because they might turn around a corner and see their teammate and be like, oh, it's they're on guard, I'm going to take them out, and be like, oh wait, that's my teammate.
They could be blue
So
or red.
I think it's best to have it be asymmetrical, yet balanced, kind of like Overrun was. I think the monsters could, spend their points to become bigger and whatever, becoming berserkers or becoming blood mounts, whatever. Whereas the cog would have a series of passives and ultimates, and also can spend their points on better weapons and maybe more health. Again, it's something that could work. The biggest challenge is just how do you balance it?
Yeah, and I think like having that overrun style thing is one option, and where it's attack and defend, and then the other option is just doing a simple human versus human light mass mode, for lack of better words, where you do have classes and upgrades, and you could even have fortifications if both sides can set up fortifications. Like something that merges that PvE and PvP together would be cool.
Yep.
Yeah, like if they, I can't see them introducing a mode like that. Of that ambition in Gears 5. Like, I think it would have to be something.
Oh yeah, it's definitely
where they
like
were
the future.
Were developing it from the start for like Gears 6.
Abs, so you mentioned the Juggernaut thing, and I wanted to cycle back to that because I think that's a huge area that Gears is missing right now, is the lack of customization options for private matches, where I could make that Juggernaut. Like, if they had the proper options in custom matches, I could make that Juggernaut mode. Those settings would not be difficult to change. And, like, that's how Halo created... They had, Grab Bag was their list of community-made modes. People made fun modes in Halo, and Bungie caught on to that and made them...
in both Halo and Call of Duty... in private matches, you can extensively customize everything. You can customize, can you respawn? How long are the respawns? How much health you have? How much damage you deal? Like, you can make it so that you and everyone else dies in one shot, so it's like very high stakes. Or you can have everyone be Juggernauts, or just one player be Juggernauts. Halo and Call of Duty are very customizable in their private matches, whereas Gears, it's just, the extent of customization is, what weapons do you want on the map? Do you want bots? And that's it.
I mocked that up. I made a video. It took forever to edit, but I created, using the Gears UI system that they have currently, I just modified that and basically created, this is some of the ideal options we would be able to see, and here's how it would look. And it actually, people said it looks exactly like the Gears menu that we have right now. It was just photoshopped really well. Thanks, Jess, by the way, for that. And there's some really basic options that people want for a long time that we don't have. And then there's those more advanced ones. And it's really disappointing that we don't have any options in private matches.
Yeah, there's just not a big support for customization in terms of private lobbies, and then obviously to allow modders on the modding side of the community for legacy games to have that ability. I would say though that that's what made Halo so great, is the fact that they were able to allow the community to develop modes, develop maps, and that has in return paid off big dividends for them, because they're able to, they have Griffball came out of it. What else?
Everything in Grab Bag.
Rocket Race, like all those type of modes, like all that stuff. While it may not be fun to everybody, it is fun to go play every now and then.
Yeah.
And Action Sack, I think, kind of came of that as well.
Yeah.
I think maybe that was more Halo 2. I can't remember. But yeah, there's just so much ability to allow. An infection as well, which is another thing as well. That would be another cool thing to.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. And infected mode could be really fun. Maybe have it be former themed.
I saw someone tweet about that.
Lambency.
Mm-hmm.
You can literally call the game mode Lambency, and similar to how COD and Halo have done it as well. Everyone is literally running away from this former, and if someone gets killed by the former, they turn into a former as well. So there'll be two of them.
You could
And
even
then-
have, like, I'm just thinking if the people want to be able to play as monsters. You have that Lamancy. You also have Wretch Lamancy. Everyone is running around the map as wretches, and there's a Lambent Wretch on the map who can infect people. Like you could do that with any creature, basically.
There would have to be health balancing though, because farmers and wretches have less health than drones. So you'd have to balance it, but it could work. Yeah.
I want to touch base on this. This is something that I love to see, and I think other games are starting to do this now. Is CMBYRK? I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. I'm just gonna spell it out. But there's a lot of games that are starting to kind of do these raid style bosses. That kind of was introduced back with like World of Warcraft open world style games. Destiny's done a great job of it. Diablo 4, which is in development right now, is going to start doing it. A lot of those type of RPG games have those type of things. I think Escape tried to capture, and don't use this like word for word, but I think they tried to capture that by having many bosses and a hive. I would love to see more of that in the PvP, in PvE. But if they merge the two, I would like to see that as well. That's a really good idea. But I think the big point is Gears just lacks on a lot of basic functions, and customization and private lobbies has been requested by a lot of people. But I do think that's going to start changing. I think maybe in the future, maybe not so much with 5.
Yeah, you mentioned bosses, and that just gave me an idea. Have you guys ever played Battlefield 1 or Battlefield 5?
I played like Battlefield 4, I think was the last one I played.
I played 1,
I never got it.
Battlefield 1 has a mode called Operations, and it's basically like this huge map where you have to take certain territories. There's like 2 objectives in each territory.
Oh, yeah.
And you have to keep on advancing until you reach the enemy base or the enemy castle. But if a team loses a round by a significant amount, then they get what's called a behemoth, which is either, depending on the map, it could be a zeppelin, it could be a battleship. It's something that would really turn the tide in their favor. So for something like Light Mass, if the team is losing by a significant margin, they could possibly have the option of bringing in like a Brumak or a carrier or something like that. I think, again, if they balance it correctly, it could work. But I think it's an interesting idea.
That's sort of more tapping into ground war sort of territory. I think we can talk about balancing. That's sort of an endless topic, really. But sort of flying out concept ideas is a bit. It's a bit more what I want to talk about for a minute. Also, just thought of an idea. Thrash Ball. You don't have COD, and I think other games have had this as well. Off the top of my head, I don't remember which ones, but have you played Uplink from COD?
Yep.
Imagine a Thrash Ball variation of that. So if you grab that Thrash Ball, you're holding that Thrash Ball.
Wait, was Uplink the one in World War II where you had to like throw the like a ball on the map into the ring, something like that?
So you get this ball and you have to deposit it, at the end zone or whatever. It's like what Gridiron is, but Gridiron should have been this, in my opinion. So you grab this ball, and when you grab this ball, you can't basically do anything, and you can throw it to other people as well. So, say if you spot 2 guys coming towards you, and you're like, oh crap, I'm in trouble. So you throw that ball to someone else, they start running with it. So it's literally Thrash Ball, and at the end, in the end zone, they can do the Thrash Ball spike expression or whatever. But it would have been cool to
I would like
that into...
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Because it would play a little bit into the lore of what everybody likes of Thrash Ball. Yeah.
I think one of the big modes.
I think lore-friendly game modes are really good.
Yeah, lore-friendly stuff would be cool. So there's one big mode that we haven't discussed yet that a lot of people like to bring up, and that is a
Battle Royale.
No, we've hit on Battle Royale a little bit, but a big team battle. type thing, or
I
it's
take
Gears
that.
of War. Where's the actual like war type game?
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. I would like to see some big. I would like to just see anything that just hasn't been done in the game yet. That's truly
Yeah.
kind of my stance. I have just made it very well known, like where I would like to see. But my overall message is, I just want new experiences, and I want that new experience to hook and catch people to want to play our franchise, because this is all of our franchises. We love this franchise to death. That's why we take our time out of the day to do community
I
discussions.
think Gears 3 had the best balance of that, because in Gears 3 you had the classic game modes like King of the Hill and Execution and Warzone and Guardian, but you also had new modes like Capture the Leader and TDM, modes that appealed to a more broad player base.
And then a Horde Evolution.
So Gears 3 I think had the perfect balance, but Gears 5 I think it focused too much on the casual modes and like the respawn modes, and I think there needs to be a delicate amount of both,
I think
without alienating one community or the other.
So I think what the Coalition's done, sort of to their detriment, is they've looked at trying to modify existing modes or eventually make new modes that they're trying to make competitive and well balanced, rather than looking at something and trying to make something like brand new and fun, like a new experience.
That's the key. That right there's a chat that I'm a part of with you chaps, and I think you may have heard me say, I just want something fun. And Gears PvP is fun. It is a fun thing to play, but I've been doing it for 12 years. I want to play something new now. I mean, we tried that with Escape. We tried that with Dodgeball. We tried that with a few other modes. I'm not going to sit there and
Escape was them making something fun. Dodgeball was them attempting to fix an issue some people had with escalation. Arms Race was them doing their take on Master at Arms from Judgment. Escalation was them trying to... It's almost like they took Execution and King of the Hill and said, hey, let's see how we can combine... These are the two things that the pros are playing in esports. Let's see how we can combine them. And then it started growing into this overly complicated thing. It's really, from what I've seen out of the Coalition, they had a great evolution of Horde from 3 to 4. They did really big things there. But the only real new experience that they brought is Escape.
And then they killed it off because of multiplayer maps.
The thing is with Escape as well is, fair enough, it's a new game mode, but it's not that captivating because it's a variation of Horde at the end of the day. As in Horde, I don't play much, but obviously I understand the concept that you're setting up shop, right, with your fortifications and things like that. But with Escape, the running and gunning,
it's an offensive Horde.
Escape is fun, but it's the same thing every map.
But for Horde, it was an evolution of 3 and 4, but Escape is a variation of Horde, really. So it wasn't really something that was really new, really captivating. So back to your point about a ground war, monsters versus COG. So in Gears of War 2, you're on the assault derricks, going to land down to the drill zone. So literally that can be the objective in itself. Could be assault derricks. You can have ravens. You can have, like the mechs from Gears 4 and 5, silverbacks for the COG. In Locust, you've got the Brumacs, the Reavers.
A mode where I'm trying to think outside of the box. A mode where you have to escort a derrick to the other side of the map and have be a ground war with 30, 60 players, however many. And I feel as if the objective to that would be the COG has to protect the derrick, and it has a certain amount of health, and the swarm has to destroy it before it reaches the base. And it's kind of like the floating platform that you brought up in Lightmass, where you can get on the derrick and you can have an advantage, you can have access to turrets, but it's on like a set path. You can't really control it. I think that could be an interesting idea.
Yeah.
The locusts are trying to stop you as well.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
I'm just saying the locusts are trying to stop you. We got all
Yeah.
these different types of locust enemies coming at you.
Yeah, basically just a playable version of Tip of the Spear from Years 2.
Yeah.
Right. I think we're probably going to start wrapping up here shortly. We've been going for about 2 hours now.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So is there anything... Oh, did we want to hit on leaks real quick? Said we were going to talk leaks.
Yeah, we can do that real quick.
I would just here's my thoughts on that is I think the leaks are going to be really important to see what comes when we know more about Operation 6. I want to know what their trailer is going to be, what their marketing is going to be, because we already know what's already out there, right? So I would be curious to see what's going to happen as we get closer to Operation 6 to see how much of that is in Operation 6 and what's actually being held back.
None of it should be in Operation 6 because according to Dana, they put stuff in the game for, like, he commented on the leaks and said, hey, yeah, it's common. We put this stuff in the game at the beginning of the operation, and then it comes out throughout the operation, and by the end of the operation, it's all out. So in theory, all these skins that have leaked are coming out in Operation 5. Whether you believe that or not, like, I don't think that's going to happen, but that's what...
There's not enough time.
Yeah.
I don't think there's enough time.
I don't think... So there's people who have issues with the leaks. Don't post leaks. Like, it hurts the artists. Like, they put a lot of time into developing this stuff. It also hurts the coalition's sales and stuff, which is never a good thing, as much as they might piss you off sometimes. Don't hurt their business like that. I will say I don't like the way they handled it. They've never really come out with a clear stance. This latest leak, they joked about it, and then they banned people. They banned a YouTube video that posted stuff about it. They haven't really ever made their stance public on it, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
Let
me... Go ahead. Go ahead. You sure?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I was just going to say, to Chaps, and you feel free to correct me where I'm wrong, but there was no stance. I personally didn't upload a video. Abs did. I did, yeah. He got striked. A lot of people got striked on that, which I don't think sat right with the community. And I will say that there was a bunch of speculation about, like, oh, this was the coalition. The coalition did this. They were leaking these out on purpose to try to drive up hype and momentum. That's definitely far from the truth. If people understand how this works, is when you have a game that is able to be played on PC, there's a large base out there that are able to pirate games, just like people pirate other things on the internet, and they are able to crack it to allow you to have access to the game and be able to play it full time, or for free. And that's what ended up happening. Is there was a leak version of the pirated game that finally made it out there, and people were able to access all these things. However, I will caveat, there are folks within the community that had knowledge of the skins that we have now seen that are leaked that kept their mouths shut. And there's a lot of people that had that privilege. I will say that leaks are beneficial and also negative, to depending on which side. I think they're great because it drives momentum and hype. However, the issue is when you have this large leak of content that is already being kind of thrown out at the beginning of Operation 5, and you're like, oh, is this coming? And then it doesn't happen. That's where the drip feed part comes back into play, and people get mad about it. So please understand that the leak was not intentional due to the coalition. It was just a modding community that cracked the game and was able to get those files published. The people that published it most likely there's probably no way to identify who they are because they were on an offline version of the game technically, but they did give you some context of what's to come, and the fact that not all of it's out there yet. But some of it wasn't in there, I don't believe. I don't remember seeing the Locust Sniper, for example.
Yeah, the Locust Sniper.
That was in the pictures. It was.
Yeah. So one thing you said there was the thing about drip feeding, which I've seen a lot of people who like to talk about drip feeding, and I I really do not feel that that is an accurate way to describe this right now.
That no. That no. I was just saying that's what people were going to latch on to.
I know. Well, this is a point that I wanted to bring up, is people keep saying this is drip feeding. So, for people who think that it's drip feeding, I want you to forget everything pre-Op 5. Like, that happened, right? That we had a failed launch and we were low on content. But the beginning of Operation 5, we got a bunch of stuff. We got a certain number of maps, we got a certain number of skins, we've been getting skins each week. Does that seem like a reasonable amount of things to be getting? And if it seems like a reasonable amount of things to be getting, then I don't think there should be an issue with the rate at which they're putting stuff out. Like, the rate that they're putting things out seems reasonable to me. Yeah, it could be better, but it seems reasonable. I don't think... And also you look at drip feeding. Drip feeding is normally thought of in the context of, oh my god, we have, like, nothing. We're struggling to survive right now, and they're like barely giving us enough. At the beginning of the game, it sure felt that way. At this point, look at how much content there is in the game. Putting out a skin or two a week doesn't seem like drip feeding to me.
I think people have become a bit accustomed to it. Just pre-Op 5. Op 5, it has been pretty solid. You know, we had characters at the start. We had the Tactics bundle. We had Lambent in December, Lambent bundle as well. They've started to filter in 2 character skins a week, so it is a lot better. But I think people have just sort of become accustomed to the drip feeding from pre-Op 5. That is kind of fixated in their head. That drip feeding. I think that's sort of it's still to do with the fact that a lot of community members don't trust the coalition, and it's going to take a bit of time to build that trust again.
Yeah, and the other thing is like, go ahead.
So you made a really good point on drip feeding that I actually hadn't even considered up until you brought it up, and I half agree with you and half disagree with you. Yeah, we have plenty of content. And yeah, they're providing it at a fairly decent pace, and I think if those leaks never happened, then not many people would be complaining. But on the other hand, I kind of disagree with you, because the fact that there's so much content that's already in the game files and they could ship out at any time is kind of, I don't really know the right word to use for it, but it feels kind of scummy to me, you know?
So it sort of does, except, so it's all free to begin with. And then I look at it from the perspective of this, that they're working on Gears 5, and they're working other projects, and eventually they need to transfer over to basically everyone is on Gears 6. The more content that they have created and that they have in their back pocket just waiting to be released, the longer we're going to continue to get content once they stop supporting Gears 5. Like, if they release everything that they have as they get it, then let's say in a few months we just stop getting, I'll use September. I'll use September as an example. If they stop supporting Gears 5 in September and they're putting everything out as they make it, that's the last drop we're getting. If they keep things in their back pocket and they don't release everything that they have and they keep supporting the game through September, once they reach that point, they still have like a few months left of content that they can slowly rotate in for people. So
yeah, that is a fair point. And your other question was, how has TC's response been? Well, they only had one response, and that was the meme of the monkey, looking back and forth. And
that was their one public response. Then they also had their response of, hey, let's go pull videos and put strikes on people.
I think that was the wrong
call. I think their response has just been really abysmal. I don't think they're treating it as transparently as they should. I think they should be honest and say, hey, the reason why these skins aren't in the game is because, we don't want to, run out of content before Gear 6 comes out. I think they should say something along the lines of that instead of literally just posting a meme. And that's pretty much been TC's record for years. Their PR, their communication with the fans has just been, for the most part, really bad. And oftentimes it feels as if they don't understand what the fans want or understand what the fans are thinking. Like the Black Phantom skins are a good example. Like
putting those in the store.
Sometimes it seems as if the company doesn't know what the majority of the fans want, and there have been multiple times like that. There was the Bolter in the store, there was the Curb Stomp in the store, there was the Black Phantom skins, and a whole bunch of other things that got so much backlash that they had no other choice but to, rescind it. And it oftentimes seems as if they're not really in touch with the community.
Yeah, I'm gonna say before we move into closing here, because like you said, it's been 2 hours. I would say this. One thing that I enjoy about games like Apex, Fortnite, Call of Duty is the Intel Twitter pages that they have. If you know what I'm talking about, they talk about all the news that's happening and then the leaks. And I think leaks, while they're detrimental in some sense, I do enjoy them, and the fact that it drives up interest and more hype over time because you know what's coming instead of that one big reveal. And then but what's happening is you're waiting for the reveal and you're like, oh yeah, this is great. Or, well, I already knew it was coming, but I'm still excited. So the interest is there regardless. I like to see that type of stuff. But I think with the how do I say this without stepping on people's toes here is, I think now that some individuals are gone, that things will be better communicated, and that there's a true sense of collaboration with the community to make sure that there's really no stone unturned. I think that there's going to be a lot of transparency and honesty and good feedback, and pushing for feedback that the community wants and expects, because those individuals might be fans just like us.
I second
that.
Yeah,
I don't know how to say that without being.
Yeah. All right. Well, I know we're kind of running late a little bit here, but I did want to touch on one of your points that with so many people leaving, it's kind of a roll of the dice. You don't know if the replacements are going to be better or worse or the same. Like with Rod Ferguson leaving, you can have your opinions about him, however you feel about him, but you don't know what his replacement is going to be until you actually see him in action. And same thing with all the other people who left. So Gear 6 is really a gamble to me. I honestly don't know if it'll be better or worse because so many developers have left, and I don't know if they're going to have that same vision. I think it's going to be a little bit problematic. I think it might run into some issues that Star Wars Saga has been running into, where there's different people working on different projects, and it kind of feels inconsistent. And
I think since March 2020, since Rod Ferguson left, we've seen the changes that the coalition have brought.
It was Rod and Ryan.
We've seen that change. Yeah. So
the thing about those changes is that we don't know if they were chosen before or after they left.
It was during the summit.
Because a lot of the changes are made months in advance.
I know, but at this summit, they really assessed the situation, and with the new leadership, they assessed what they need to do for the future of Gears 5, and we've seen those changes. So the changes, so they've been cleaning up the mess that they basically left, and that gives us a better picture of where the coalition are headed. And I know, it's a Gears of War game without Cliff or Rod Ferguson, so for us Gears fans, it's interesting. And but yeah, it's been
a little bit concerning, I would say.
Anyway. If you want to wrap up, that's fine.
Yeah, when you're talking about just the evolution and future of the game and where we are, there's just so much to unpack, and you could literally go for hours on end. I think the biggest thing is, let's keep in mind that, and I'm guilty of this, is I think Ryan and Rod had the best interests for the franchise. I think they just read whatever they were reading in terms of community and feedback and everything else that they got. It just didn't work out the way that they had hoped.
Yeah, they're good
And
people. They were trying to do what they thought was right and what they thought was best for the game. It just
and I
didn't
will
land
say,
right.
and I will say, I think the community was so harsh on Ryan in particular. The guy probably had, and I don't know this to be true, but just observation, it just looks like the guy had a complete mental breakdown to the point where he just like deleted his accounts and just went offline completely, didn't know how to act. And there's been some interaction with him recently, and people are still coming after him. He's been gone for almost a year. It's like, come on, let it go. I understand you don't like the way things played out. But
Yeah, like I said earlier, the fans are not only too harsh on Dana, but too harsh on everyone. Like,
It's like
there's a
the
balance.
thing is, there's hundreds of people working at the studio. To point the blame at like two people is pretty disingenuous.
I won't insult Ryan. I've had conversations. I went to a Gears eSport event and I've had conversations with him, and he's a nice guy. And I disagree with some of the things that he says and what he wants to do.
People.
But yeah, I mean, people just need to understand. Like
criticism is fine. The problem is when criticism turns to insult.
Right. Yeah.
Yep. Agreed. And there's a lot of that in this community, unfortunately, towards developers.
Yep.
But yeah.
Alrighty. So we had a lot of good discussion today. Let's go back around the room and wrap things up. So if you have any closing comments that you want to say, go ahead. And then also let people know where they can find you online. So keeping with the same order, Banana, we'll go with you first.
Closing statement, bring back Bernie. That's all I want. And as for where people can find me, I have the same username pretty much everywhere. Banana Brands F, Discord, YouTube, Instagram. Yeah, pretty much everything. Twitter.
Alrighty. Neon?
Yeah, I think closing remarks for me is just I want everybody to challenge themselves to continue to think about what can be and not what is. I think that we literally had a discussion, and I think that people have understand that, like, I personally want like a Gears BR, and that's all I want. But no, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I just want an evolution for the franchise, a standalone product. And I want people to challenge themselves to continue to think about ideas. Like you heard us say probably like 20 or 50 with 20 game mode ideas within a matter of minutes. That could be standalone products like AAA style. So challenge yourself to think outside of what we're seeing today and understand that I don't personally want just like a Fenix collection of BR. I just want us to grow in the community to get back to where it should be. I posted some stats and data points out there. I don't think Gears 5 has a player base between 50 to 100,000 players, I don't think that's good enough for a AAA title. I think it should be more than that personally. There's no reason that this game isn't a top tier game on Twitch. Instead, it's bottom of the barrel, and I don't like that. So I want better. That's just my conclusion on that. And honestly, you can really find me on YouTube. I stream a lot more now. YouTube content's taking a little bit of a side push. So, just click my name in here, and that's where I'm at. And then obviously on Twitter.
Alrighty. Ebs?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you very much for having us on. And also, I like this discussion because a lot of our opinions are quite different. So it's really sort of healthy discussion and bring up points that we might not think about if people just have discussions with people that have similar sort of opinions. So it's really good that you brought this together. Third, just keep discussing Gears of War community. Let your ideas known. We all want the best for this franchise, whether it's a Battle Royale or Fenix Collection or Gears 6 or new standalone experience. Keep talking about it. Show your interest. Show the demand that there's a market for this. And you can find me on YouTube, and Matt is right there. I think it is, isn't it? For Twitter and Discord and Twitch and YouTube, all of that good stuff. And
Right, yeah. So thanks all of you for joining. And sort of to the point that Abs brought up is whenever I have a panel like this, sometimes I just do random topics. Sometimes I pick out specific topics, and everyone brings different viewpoints to the table, and it's great trying to make sure that I get people who have opposing viewpoints on there, and you can get that sort of professional type debate type thing going. So I know I've been pretty busy with work and stuff. I haven't been doing too many of these streams, hoping to pick them up. I'm going to be messaging some people to get another one going at some point here. So thanks to everyone who's watching. Thanks again to you guys joining, and we'll catch you guys later. See ya.